Hey everybody, just coming to you live again from Yellowknife on another beautiful sunny day here. And I was just responding in another body positive group that I'm a part of. Somebody asked the question, how do we practice mindful movement? And I wrote up a response and I thought I would share it with you guys too, just think, because I was thinking about what is mindful movement and how do we practice it. So, first of all, I love the use of the word movement. I think when we start to call things exercise was something that came out like in the 80s, and I feel like it's like the old way, the dinosaur way of doing things. And it's like about these discrete packets of time that we do movement, and the rest of the day we can sit and we don't move our bodies at all. When I think as human beings, we were designed more to move our bodies in whatever way is accessible for our bodies to move. So that looks very different for lots of different people. But as opposed to calling something exercise, where there's usually an expectation of the length of time and an expectation of how many calories one is going to burn or breaking a big sweat or whatever, movement opens up the door to it being something that could be look very different than what we think of as exercise. And one of the things that I love to do that I'll share with you guys too is, so I read this study, and it was, you might know about the Sitting is the New Smoking as a campaign that came out. And out of that campaign, a lot of people started doing the stand-up desk movement and that kind of thing. But from this Sitting is the New Smoking, the actual study that was done was looking at what happens when we sit for longer periods of time on a more like cellular level. And what ends up happening when we're sitting is usually we have like a 90-degree angle at our hip joint. And then the femoral artery, the artery that runs, from through your hips down to your legs, is quite a big artery. And as the blood comes down and then it has to change direction, it ends up, if you imagine there's like this tube, as the blood changes direction at that kink, it puts a lot of pressure on our arterial wall as it changes that direction. And to protect itself as a healthy, positive response to that pressure, the arterial wall builds up a little bit of extra plaque. And the longer we sit for periods of time, the more of this plaque builds up on the arterial wall. And eventually what can happen is some of this plaque will be freed from the arterial wall and can travel to the heart, where it can cause different heart problems and issues in the heart, where there's smaller arteries than the femoral artery. So that was what the study looked at when they came out and said sitting is the new smoking, because it's causing heart disease, and there's a link between that and heart disease. So so what I like to do, so what came out of that, what was the recommendation out of that, was that to always get up and move your body every 20 minutes, and to like get up, move your body every 20 minutes for about 5 minutes, and then you can go back to work, because most of us don't have an option to not sit or not be sedentary in some kind, or we can't, most of us don't have like a treadmill, computer station or whatever. So what I like to do, just to share with you guys what I like to do, is I set my alarm for a 20-minute period of time, and maybe I'll start for 20 minutes sitting at a desk where my hip is at a 90-degree. And then the alarm goes off, I get up for 5 minutes, and I move around, and the movement might look like getting on my yoga mat. It might look like just doing the dishes, some kind of movement, doing laundry. It can look like lots of different things. And then when I come back to go back to work, I'll maybe choose to sit on the floor and sit cross-legged on the floor, or I'll maybe choose to set up a standing desk option. And when I talk about it, I'm not getting anything fancy. I'm using like stools and yoga blocks to build standing desks, and I have just like a low table that I sit at to create my little low table. So so that's a big thing, is movement can be anything we want. And in fact, if we look at the scientific data, it's really great to practice movement throughout your day rather than in these like big discrete chunks of time. So I would definitely recommend set an alarm for 20 minutes, get up and move your body every 20 minutes, and just see how that makes you feel. I have found that it helps keep my energy more steady and up higher for longer periods of time than if I just sit for like huge chunks of time. I find like, I don't know, my brain stops working almost. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, like, when we think about movement as opposed to exercise, movement can be a lot of different things. So like I mentioned, movement could be like tidying up your house, movement could be walking to your mailbox, movement could be having a spontaneous living room dance party, movement could be like going to a spin class, movement could be gentle yoga, movement could be vigorous yoga, it could be anything that kind of your body is asking you to do. And like, I really think about it as all movement has value and all movement is good movement. There's not one movement that would be better than another. If it's the choice between no movement and some movement, go for the movement. And even if it doesn't look like what you think movement has to look like or what exercise has to look like. So yeah, and so I think another cool option is to apply into the intuitive eating approach to movement. So it's like intuitive movement. So you can begin by like checking in with your body and kind of noticing, how does your body feel? Are there aches and pains in different places? Are you feeling energetic in that moment? Do you feel like you need a little stretch? Do you feel like you need to, and then getting a phone call while I'm doing this live. Anyway, and see what kind of movement appeals to you in that moment. And then go for things that are pleasure-filled movement in the moment. So future payoffs aren't really going to be great motivators. And then you can begin to practice whatever movement your body asks you to practice. And continue, while you practice, you continue to check in with your body and see how that movement is making you feel. And so if you need to take a break, you take one. If it gives you more energy, you celebrate that, and you just let it last however long it lasts. And it's all about building that body trust, that we're going to listen to our bodies and respond to our body's needs. And then after the movement, take some time, check back in with your body, see the benefits, celebrate those benefits. And as a yoga therapist, I definitely would recommend checking in with your body, your mind, your breath, your spirit, and seeing all the change on all those levels. Yeah, so those are some of the little things I use for mindful movement. And if you guys have any other thoughts or ideas, I'd love to hear them. All right, thanks. Bye.